From the Selenium virus in World War Z to Trixie in the Crazies, books, films, and TV shows have spent decades highlighting the, albeit fictional, threat of a zombie apocalypse. But such a threat may be more real than first thought. A researcher from Ohio has published a study that looks at the rise of fictional zombie infections in a tongue-in-cheek way to draw attention to the real-world threat of how diseases spread. She also uses it as a wake-up call for the medical and community to fund research into how countries tackle outbreaks, using the recent Ebola crisis as an example. In her study, Zombie Infections, Epidemiology, Treatment, and Prevention, Tara Smith, Associate Professor at Kent State University in Ohio, studies the fictional spread of the Selenium virus, the Rage virus that featured in the 2002 film 28 Days Later and the Trixie virus in 1973 film, and 2010 remake, The Crazies. Her research is published in the British Medical Journal. Non-viral zombie causes include a form of the Black Plague bacterium, Yersinia pestis, the cordyceps fungus, and a mutated strain of the prion infection, commonly known as mad cow disease. She discovered that each of these viruses were typically spread by bites. Symptoms of infection during a zombie outbreak tend to be fairly uniform, regardless of the nature of the pathogen, added Associate Professor Smith. The incubation period is highly variable, with development of symptoms ranging from seconds to hours or days. Surviving a zombie apocalypse. The Zombie Survival Guide 2003 explained, at this rate, attacks will only increase, culminating in one of two possibilities. The first is that world governments will have to acknowledge, both privately and publicly, the existence of the living dead, creating special organizations to deal with the threat. In this scenario, zombies will become an accepted part of daily life, marginalized, easily contained, perhaps even vaccinated against. A second, more ominous scenario would result in an all-out war between the living and the dead. For the sake of humanity, we must ensure that the latter scenario does not occur, added Smith, and that we work together as a unified global community to respond quickly to any and all new zombie threats. In an interview with the Washington Post, Associate Professor Smith admitted, "We give talks around the country about scientific issues, tied into zombies. It's a way to bring attention to these subjects that otherwise might not seem interesting. In my case, it's infectious disease." She specifically made reference to the way nations handled the widespread outbreak of Ebola and how it highlighted how incredibly unprepared we are at handling epidemics of this kind. Plus, with the rise of antibiotic-resistant bacteria strains, Associate Professor said the issue should be considered more of a priority.